Hey everyone, what's going on? Hope you're doing great. I've got a fresh breakdown for you on EA Sports UFC 5's newest patch, and if you've been waiting for a reason to jump back into the octagon, this one gives you a solid push. The update landing on November 6th rolls out across PS5, Xbox Series X, XS, and PC, and it brings a new roster face plus a couple of quality of life fixes that smooth out some nagging visual and presentation hiccups. We'll go through what changed, why it matters if you play ranked or just love offline to online sparring, and I'll also share some immediate game plan ideas so you can get value from the new content the second you load up. For reference, this is update 1.029. I'll just call it the patch from here on so we keep things clean. Let's start with the headliner. Roman Kopylov joins the middleweight roster. If you follow real-world events, Kopylov's striking has been sharpening fight after fight with a patient, surgical pace that suddenly flips into a finishing burst. In-game, that usually translates to a fighter who rewards clean entries, smart distance management, and tight shot selection, rather than wild exchanges. Think of him as a timing puzzle for your opponent. If they overextend, he punishes with straight counters. If they shell up, you chip away at the body and mix in leg kicks to bend their base. The official notes describe Kopylov as the Marquee Edition, which fits EA's pattern of mixing single fighter drops into routine maintenance patches near the end of a content cycle. In practical terms, what should you expect when you pick him for the first time? Start by testing the jab into rear body cross, and then sit on the counter window off their reply. Kopylov players should live in that middle distance range, where slips and pulls give you maximum reward and minimum risk. You won't be steamrolling with raw power, like a pure brawler archetype. Instead, you'll rack up accumulative damage and then spike with a well-timed combination once you've established rhythm. Try a simple three-piece like jab, rear hook, to the body, lead hook upstairs, then reset. If they bite on the body feint, swap the second strike to a rear uppercut, and see if you catch ducking tendencies. The key is not to overtax your stamina bar early. Kopylov's best rounds are the ones where you look borderline boring for 2 minutes and then suddenly land the sequence that changes the tide. For players facing Kopylov, your answer is disruption. He thrives on clean lines and clear reads, so choose awkward entries, layer in stance switches, and make him swing at air early to tax his cardio. If you're a wrestler or a clinch-heavy player, don't telegraph your level changes. Use strike to take down chains off his jab. If he's timing your step-ins with straights, break pattern with long kicks to the body from safe range, and then crash after drawing a counter that whiffs. The meta at middleweight is crowded with versatile strikers, and Kopylov slots in as a specialist who beats you with patience. Deny him that comfort, and you'll be fine. Now let's talk fixes, because presentation polish matters, especially if you create content, stream, or just care about immersion. The patch addresses an issue where certain clothing textures weren't loading properly. If you've ever had your fighter's shorts pop in weirdly or some vanity items look low-res or inconsistent, this should reduce those moments. It's a small note in writing, but you'll feel it when your created fighter looks right from the first frame of a replay, and when thumbnails for clips you post don't get photobombed but by glitched fabric. Alongside that, the team corrected some incorrect walkout commentary lines. This one's subtle but welcome. A botched intro can undercut the vibe before the first punch is thrown, and fixing those lines keeps the pre-fight atmosphere consistent. Both fixes are specifically called out in roundups for this patch, so if those quirks were bugging you, make sure you fully restart after updating to flush any cached assets. Timing-wise, the rollout hits on November 6th globally, but exact hours vary by region and platform listing. On social, EA flagged that a new patch would be available for download on that date, which tracks with their usual announce and push within a day cadence we've seen all year. If your console shows the download, but the roster doesn't immediately reflect the change, do the old faithful. Close the game, check for updates one more time, then relaunch. A quick power cycle or hard reset on console can also nudge the roster service to refresh. This isn't magic. It's just how live service titles sometimes cache data for in-game databases like fighter lists and vanity inventories. While we're on cadence, it's worth remembering how often EA pairs a new name with a small set of presentation or stability tweaks, then follows up later with cosmetics, alter egos, or mini balances around real-world fight weeks. You've seen it across earlier patches this year. A fighter lands on patch day, a few days later, themed content or alternate versions drop to line up with the weekend card. Keep an eye on the official newsfeed if you want exact dates for anything secondary that might pair with this update. The pattern has been pretty consistent across 2025. Let's shift into how you can get immediate value out of Kopylov in ranked. First, lab your ranges. Hit practice mode and toggle the AI to throw jabs and calf kicks at random. Your job is to learn how far you can stand without eating the start of their jab, and how shallow you can step without whiffing your own. With Kopylov, I like to use micro steps, tiny forward checks, then instant pullbacks. It's not flashy, but it builds the timing you'll need to counter. Second, prioritize body investment in round 1. Even if you're not hunting a body KO, those early digs pay off by round 3 when both of you start to feel stamina bite. Third, get comfortable with 2-beat resets. Land your pair, slide out, take a step left or right, then re-enter. If you stay in the pocket too long, you'll get dragged into exchanges that don't suit his best attributes. If grappling is your game, Kopylov won't suddenly flip you into a chain wrestling menace, but his measured pace does complement opportunistic takedowns. Set them up with clean, straight punches to get your opponent high guarding and then drop levels on the recovery frame. Once on the mat, don't force it. Take the free damage, test the posture up, and bail at the first whiff of a reversal. The idea is to make them respect the threat, not to transform the match into a blanket. The minute they start defending level changes, your hands open up again. For players who stick to stand and bang, here's a blend I love with Kopylov against pressure fighters. Start with a long jab, pivot out, then double up jab into a rear straight. You're essentially herding them into a lane and then closing the door. If they start parrying your jab, start fighting it, throw a rear body kick instead, and watch for them to reach. When they do, blister them with a lead hook to the liver. Rinse, observe the adaptation, repeat with a new wrinkle. Now, if you're just here for the fixes because you play a lot of online career or fight now with friends and you want the game to look and sound right, this patch is a tidy one. The clothing texture issue being ironed out should help every mode because presentation elements get baked into replays, screenshots, and those in-match camera cuts. The walkout commentary repair keeps the broadcast vibe intact, which, look, I know some of you skip walkouts, but for the folks who want the spectacle, the pre-fight energy matters. It sets the tone, and when the tone is right, the whole session feels better. A quick word on platforms and how the version may appear in your library. On PlayStation 5, you'll see the 4-segment style numbering, while on Xbox and PC storefronts, it'll be referenced more simply in patch trackers and articles. Functionally, you're getting the same content and fixes regardless of where you play, but just be aware the label in your update history can look a little different depending on the system. The easiest way to confirm you're current is to check your fighter list for Kopylov. Then pop into a quick match and scan the clothing on a couple of presets to see if the textures look crisp from the start. If you run into the rare case where Kopylov isn't showing after you've updated, there are a few troubleshooting moves that have worked for past roster drops. First, back out to the system screen and force close the game rather than soft returning to the menu. Second, go into your console's Manage Game Content option and make sure no add-ons are queued. Sometimes vanity bundles or language packs hang and delay the last step. Third, clear the cache with a full console restart. Most of the time, one of those 3 is enough to jog the roster service into showing the new edition. Now, how does this patch fit into the bigger picture of where the game stands late in the year? The update pace through 2025 has been steady, adding prospects, fixing presentation issues, and sprinkling in alter egos timed to big fight weeks. That rhythm tells you 2 things. 1, the devs are keeping a thread of new content alive so the roster stays current with the real sport. 2, they prefer surgical balance and polish adjustments more than sweeping mechanical overhauls at this stage.